Hey guys, on this episode of EdTech, I'm going to be talking with Scott Tyner, Ernie Bailey, James King, and Rob Raspberry as we talk about troubleshooting tech terms as well as how to talk with faculty when it comes to having the room on fire. All this and more on EdTech.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is EdTech, episode 92, Troubleshooting Tech Talk.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box.
This is EdTech, the Higher Ed Tech Monthly Podcast. I'm your host, Bill O'Donnell, and this month we're joined by James King. Oh, how are you, sir?
Good, and yourself?
Doing well, man, doing well. Mr. Rob Raspberry, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Hope you're all keeping safe.
Indeed. Mr. Scott Tyner?
Hey, Bill. Nice to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you back. And as always, Mr. Ernie Bailey, how are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine. Like Scott said, glad to be here today.
Oh, there we go. So, first off, we're coming towards, as I say, we're coming towards the end of the semester. For some of us, the classes are already over, finals are already in commencement. And if you're like me, you suddenly found out that the room you were planning on working in suddenly opened up a week and a half early. So all of a sudden you look and say, yeah, and you jump on the project with all 4 feet. So currently, you guys can't see this, but I'm already dealing with rack rash from about, dealing with a 12 by 12 ye old BNC switcher. So anyways, the first article we're going to go over is actually by one of our participants here, Mr. James King. It's his IT and AV article, which comes to us from Higher Ed AV Magazine. Once again, little nice promo to Joe Way and his fine organization and everything. And the article itself is over processing. It's called Processing to Understand. And James brings up a good point in the article and everything. And for me, I tend to view it, and as a tech manager, this is always like an ongoing problem. But it's almost what is the common vocab, or what's the common language that you try to get across to both your techs as well as the faculty and everything. Reason being is, if you look in the article and all, the faculty were talking about your overhead projectors, which, if you haven't seen those before, back in, ye olden days when I was going to school, even in college, they had the, clear projector, which had the nice acetate sheets, and the faculty would be marking them up with markers. And, you'd be like me, who'd be like on a little paper tablet, furiously scribbling down notes at 8 a.m. going, why am I doing this? What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Why am I writing down notes at 8 a.m.? This is a secret, I swear. But anyways, but to this day, we still have faculty who will call up and say, yeah, the overhead's not working. And of course, for our campus, we have the math department and the art department who still use them. So there's always that little hesitation of, is this something I actually really need to go over and fix, or did like a bulb just go out? Or is it the actual projector and, ye old professor is going, help me, the room's on fire, get your butt over here. So I'm going to throw it around the room and everything. Guys, for you, is there a kind of common language, or at least certain level of expectation when you guys are dealing with troubleshooting, or does it turn more into just, well, it's Professor Cook from history and this and that, just go in, save face, and worry about it later, kind of thing. It's one of those things of, do you guys have a certain level of confidence / certain level of, like I said, it's a vocab thing with faculty. Do you guys have that, or is it just one of those, the students are smart enough, the help desk folk know what they're doing?
I think it goes off of who you're actually dealing with. As everyone will tell you, is the faculty members, when they're calling, they're not calling to say hi. Something's going wrong. they're in front of a class. They might have egg on their face and they want something fixed now. They're not going to care about terminology they're using. They want someone there to fix their issue and get the egg off their face. And that's why, like, the whole processing to understand is, yeah, they may be using the wrong term, but us techs, we should realize what they're trying to do and understand what they're trying to do, and then take that language that they're giving us and decipher it into our own language. Now, if one of my techs calls me and says the overhead is not working, I'm going to give him some lip about that, because he should know better. The techs should know. But yeah, if a faculty member, I don't expect them, because like, I'm not going to know math terms. So I don't expect them to know the terminology for tech. Now, if you're dealing with a comp sci professor, you might give them a little more like expect for tech, but really I take them, let's get their problem solved and get them up and running and try to save face. Yeah,
it's one of those things. Whenever, like, if I have to go into the room and do some quick troubleshooting, because folks get busy. Sometimes multiple rooms are on fire, kind of thing. When everything is said and done, or if it's something simple, and the faculty later on go like, "Oh my God, I couldn't believe it was just this." I look at the folks and I go, "And how many years have you been doing AV integration and AV system design?" And they go, "0." I'm like, "Well, then why worry?" I was like, "How many years have I been teaching nursing procedural theory and things like that?" 0. So yeah, it's in that kind of ballpark deal.
I actually think one of the things I thought about that was great about this article, James, was there's so many things to talk about in here, right? For a fairly short article, I could have a conversation with you for about 2 hours about this. And certainly one thing I thought when I read this, and knowing you're going for your MBA, this could be like a minor case study, right? Give this to a tech and say, tell me what's wrong with what the tech did in here, first of all, and what the tech said. But I think the other piece to answer Bill's question is, we don't expect faculty to have any of our language, or any of our users have any of that language. And that's why we go to a room. That we don't try to solve something over the telephone, because even a word that seems as simple as computer will mean something different to somebody standing in that room. We have plenty of faculty who will call the monitor the computer. And if you say, "Is the computer on?" they'll be like, "Yeah, the light's on, I see it." And you assume then that the computer's on, and it's not, because they're actually not even looking at the computer.
They're not looking at the blue light. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have to go to that room. You have to do what James talks about, which is actually troubleshoot the problem. Say to the professor, "Tell me what you're trying to do and what in that step isn't working for you." And then you have to go from there.
Yeah, we're the same way. I tell my staff, we can't recover lost class time. So if a professor calls and says the system's not working, don't start asking questions. Tighten your shoelaces and get down the hall. Get in there and get it fixed. I've probably shared this on here before, but I tell my guys, we don't want the faculty or the students concerned about the technology. We want them thinking about what they're going to be teaching or what they're going to be learning. We're an academic health science center. I tell my staff, these people, the students in the room learning, are going to be taking care of you in 20 years when you're sick. You don't want them to miss that one lecture they needed.
And we do a lot of remote support, which allows us to quickly solve issues without going in the room. But I'm the same way. I might spend 1 to 2 minutes on the phone, and if I'm not making headway, I'm off. I'm to the room. Or if I know someone's working on an issue, say like the help desk is getting a call, and they're talking to the professor, I'm going to start heading to that room. I'd rather be called halfway to the room saying, "Hey, they don't need help anymore, they're good," than having them wait that extra 2-3 minutes to walk down the hall.
James, that's exactly how we do it. When our help desk gets a call from a classroom, they dispatch a technician in that direction, while they're trying to solve it remotely.
That's great.
And a lot of times we'll still, even if we've got it fixed, ask the technician to step in and wave to the instructor.
Mhm.
Because, my guys, may not be known by name, but they're known by face when they walk into the classroom.
Oh, yeah.
And then the instructor can say, hey, one of your guys came in and checked on us. We had everything fixed, but we appreciate them coming by.
Yeah.
So, you get points there that you can spend later when something really bad happens.
And the remote support, James, when you talk about it, I think of, we will do remote support with feedback that we get from the system, right? So if we see the computer is off, we can say, hey, in that room, can you look at the cabinet below and turn? So we might do something like that. But talking with the faculty is really tough because you have two types, right? One who's going to call the projector in the room the overhead, which is dangerous. But maybe the other more dangerous one is the younger faculty who thinks they know what the problem is.
Oh, yeah.
And they're leading you down the complete wrong road. And because they seem to be using words that make sense, you go down that road with them.
Exactly.
And often make more of a mess than it started. Because in that case, the computer was also off.
Yeah. Now, guys, this is something like that we do here on campus. Now, once again, we have the luxury of having like an in-house programmer, and some of you guys do, some of you don't. But our programmer, Damon, actually continually pulls the device equipment for feedback. And then he also builds that into the touch panel so that if there is a problem, for us, like, if we get a trouble call for one of the classrooms, we can actually remote into the panel itself. And on the panel, it'll actually say 9 times out of 10 what the problem is. And it'll say things like, oh, there's no signal going to the projector, or, oh, there's no signal coming from the computer. There's no signal coming from the source. Or, if there's absolutely no network connectivity and everything, just a big red warning light comes on and everything. And that's been one of the things that has actually helped us out, because a lot of times when we do the remote into the panels, it usually says, oh, you guys, is the actual PC on? And they go, oh, and sometimes it's as easy as that. The other thing, and we're kind of experimenting out with this, and this is something actually I want to ask all you guys. Do you guys have phones in the classrooms?
No.
James? No?
We do not, no.
Okay.
No.
So one of the things, since we have Crestron touch panels in our setups, we're actually monkeying around right now because the panels themselves can do SIP. And we're trying to see if we can actually make it to where if they put, we're going to try to enable a help button, and the help button will actually dial an H323 SIP number and everything, which will obviously go back to our help line and everything.
We're trying to get there, but
yeah,
that keeps getting pushed down the road.
Well, as I say, thankfully we're a small enough university where I know the phone guy directly, and I go, can you give us a couple of party numbers that are just internal, no one's going to be able to dial out or anything like that. It just goes internally here. And he going, yeah, I can do that. So that's our way of trying to at least make it a little bit even easier / quicker, because, and I'll throw this to you guys and everything, there are some faculty folks who just go, oh, the room hasn't worked. Oh, it's never worked, this and that. And I go, did you guys put a ticket in? Well, I told you guys about it. And I'm like, did you put it in an email? Yeah. Okay. And normally if we get those, at least the folks that are help desk know enough to where they go, okay, we'll put the help desk ticket in and try to cover it and everything. But we try to get folks once again, the room's on fire and, we will be down there and everything. But if it's hey, this happened, it's guys, put in a ticket, we'll track it if it's a repeating issue and everything. And like I said, that's why we're trying to get to literally, you hit the help button on the touch panel and it'll bring it up straight to the help desk folks and everything. And like I said, it's just trying to make it's for us at the core. I view it as us trying to make the faculty feel as comfortable or at ease as much as they can. Because like you said, James, the faculty don't want to lose face in front of their students. They're going to get frazzled, and then for them to try to get back on track with teaching, they had already had a routine. They already had like this rhythm going, and boom, they blew out a flat tire.
So I'm going to add two quick things to this, Bill. So
Yeah.
one thing that we've done is there's faculty that are not going to fill out tickets. And there are some instances, not only with just classroom issues, but collaboration platform issues. So what we've done is on our main number, we have the ability, because we have a lot of tickets a lot of calls coming at the same time, is when a message is created, it automatically pushes it to our email. And it also allows us to download the message right on our machine, so we can hear it right there without having to go into the queue or anything else. So that's one other thing that we've added that allows us to cover more troubleshooting. One thing that I think that we sort of may not, well, I'm sure a lot of us do it, but follow up with faculty and people who have issues is very key. And sometimes you find that in the moments after they've had the problem, after stuff has happened, or you go in and check on them on follow up in a classroom, and you have a conversation with them, and you sort of lay out, okay, this was the problem, this is what happened, it was the touchpad, it was the projector, they sometimes pick it up, but more importantly, they become more comfortable with you. And to the point also where if you make that connection and you get that call, well, that same problem's happening again, you don't really have to ask them. You sort of know exactly, okay, we're coming right over, we know what's going on. So follow-up and feedback also is very key after troubleshooting. So that's another step that we do.
Now, we're pretty lucky is, like I said, we have phones in all our classrooms. And so our faculty members don't hesitate to give us a call. We don't expect our faculty members to actually submit tickets. We put it on us to do it. So even when we get a call saying that the room's on fire, we're going to run down, take care of the issue. When we come back, we're logging the ticket. We're putting it under the faculty info, so we have their info to follow up, like Robert said. And so we're the ones who are putting the tickets in. We don't expect the faculty members to do it. They should focus on teaching.
Right.
It's, as I say, like I said, it all depends with the faculty. Like I said, if it's like a history professor, I just kind of take it on the nose, and I just go, okay, log it in. Here you go, no problem. But like I said, I think at the core of it, it's you want the faculty to be at least comfortable enough to say, oh, hey, I need help. I need this. One of the ones we had just recently, and Rob, this goes back to what you were talking about. We had this faculty member said, yeah, listen, I'm doing Zoom sessions because we're doing high flex. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. What's going on? Well, after 40 minutes, the Zoom call shuts down. And I kind of went, okay, well, how many times has this happened? It's happened like 2 or 3 times. And, I've got classes and this and that. And I said, are you logging in using your email or your personal one? Well, I thought they were the same. No. And I said, you know what? Come on. I was like, come on by to the office. We'll work this through with you and everything. And yeah, the faculty member didn't realize that, we had gotten an enterprise license. And I'm like, here, and you know what? I was like, here, I'll even do you an extra couple of favors here. I was like, I'll make a Zoom tab for you on your Blackboard site and everything. And I said, the only thing I'll ask is, like, if you do this, I'm like, you can record sessions. I said, please record them to the cloud. I was like, if you record them to the PC, I'm like, I can't guarantee that the stuff's going to be there. And ever since then, she's actually been really happy about stuff. And she's like, oh, it's really easy. She's like, all I had to do was just schedule everything. And now I can point back my previous Zoom sessions to, the classes and this and that. And I'm like, that's cool. At the end of the day, once again, and I've said this multiple times, and one more ain't going to kill us. I firmly believe, folks are not coming to our universities because of the technology. Now, the exception to that might be like MIT or Stanford or something like that. But, by and far, no one's coming by saying, no, I want to come to this school because, we can do Zoom sessions in every classroom. No one's saying. But like I said, Go ahead.
Just play the other thing is thinking about how many tours you might have, and if the technology is failing during your tours, I mean that's a bad impression right there in the school.
Yeah.
So yes, no one's going to go, hey, I'm going to go to XYZ because they have the 4K projectors. But if they walk into the classroom and they're using a overhead system, they'll be like, I don't know if I want to go here. Is this teacher actually teaching the latest stuff?
Yeah. Or if they see a chalkboard.
Yeah, we went through that about a year and a half ago after we went through a bunch of interview sessions for potential students and brought them in on tours. Some of the feedback we got was, well, I went to this other school and their, all their technology seemed newer and looked like they had it under control. So I got a new budget.
Oh, look at that. Fancy.
Yeah.
For us, I think the biggest push forward, and obviously we've talked about it, but it was here, can we do Zoom in the classrooms? And I'm like, yeah, we've already updated the document cameras and everything. Is it a perfect fit? No, but is it enough to get things moving along? Yes. Speaking of wonderful world of high flex and document cameras and cameras extraordinaire, Scott came to us and he has an article off of Rave Pubs entitled "Will There Be a Rise of Home Studios?" And once again, in the realm of COVID and everything, yes, a lot of folks are doing more high flex or online classes and things of that nature. And Scott brings up a good point in the article. And actually, if anything, Scott, I'll let you explain this one. Reason being is that, once again, if you're a podcaster, like all of us are at the moment, there is a certain amount of you need to have certain levels of equipment and things like that. And not always all the faculty get these things, but I'll let you kind of digress with all this.
Well, for us at Bates, we're having very serious conversations right now about what happens when this is done. COVID's done. Let's hope it's September 2021. Let's say September 2022. What happens? Does everybody just start coming back to work? Is it all normal? And we're feeling pretty strongly that A, no, lots of people don't come back to work, and B, maybe we don't want lots of people coming back to work. And C, maybe we have lots of people like me who really actually enjoy the flexibility. I might get up in the morning for an 8 a.m. meeting, sit there and drink my coffee in my house, and then at 10 head over to campus to do some stuff. But I really think about our executive teams, the people, the admissions people who are talking to students, the president, the vice president for advancement, who are having conversations that really matter. And what does their video look like? What does their audio look like? What does their background look like? And as great as this virtual background is, it's distracting when I wave my arm and it disappears, or you see these weird artifacts, or half my head disappears. It's distracting. And if I'm trying to convince you to spend or to donate X amount of money or to come to this college because we're really sophisticated, when those things happen, or you can't hear me, or you've got what I got going on right now because I don't have a circle light, it's half my face is lighter than the other half. It's distracting. And so I wonder about all of these things put together, and we have a vice president maybe who wants to go to their house and work out of their house for a couple of weeks in the summer, but still want to do work. Is there a need for a studio there? And how easy can we possibly make that studio?
So the one thing I want to talk about the virtual background is I agree with Scott that they can be distraction, but they're also a big security thing. You think about right now, if you look at Robert, he has a tree in his back behind him. We see that his back's to the window. If I'm a malicious person, I can start taking that information and using it to attack him. Or same with Ernie there. Like, with a virtual background, you can't see papers on my desk. You can't see what's behind me, where the sun is, what lighting I have, or what Bill has no windows. So that's a key element of virtual backgrounds. I agree. The artifacts, they are distracting, but I rather that then someone, especially like you take a college president who might have confidential information on their desk, and that's picked up by the camera because they're not using a virtual desktop or virtual background. That's bad. So I'm a component of virtual backgrounds, but I do understand where you're getting at, Scott.
Well, then so I'm talking a place, not a person sitting at their desk, right? This is somebody who I'm going to a meeting with $1 million donor. I'm going to step over to here and do this. And we still might use virtual backgrounds because I don't want a white wall behind me, but I am going to have a green screen behind me, and I am going to have good lighting so that I'm not getting those crazy artifacts that I'm getting right now.
We've started doing, we've done it for years, what we call lunch with leaders, where our investment group, our institutional advancement team, that's the go get money team, they have done this monthly meeting for years where they brought in, let's see, how did they describe it? Donors, alumni, and special friends of the university. Now, special friends are, I think, really how they're describing future donors, people that have big checkbooks but haven't used them yet. And we've taken those virtual. And now, instead of having the people come on campus, giving them a small tour of a certain area, we're doing these presentations. We've converted one of our auditoriums basically into a studio. We don't, it seats 330 people. During COVID, it seats 80. It's not really usable for anything. So it's got a small stage in it. We've added some special lighting, and it's got a nice lectern with our university logo on the front of it. They stand behind that and give their talk. We've got tape marks on the stage for them to stand in certain spots when they're giving presentations. We've controlled the background behind them. And, like I said, we've kind of made it a little studio set, and we've found that it's useful for when the chancellor's doing a town hall, or if the governor wants to come to campus and give a talk on healthcare. He usually does those from our campus. So he'll come across town and he'll come in that auditorium, and we've got it lit. We've got cameras. We got good microphones. We've gotten the chancellor a Countryman mic, and he puts it on before he leaves his office, comes over when we plug it into a transmitter when he walks in the room. So he's got his microphone. It's been perfectly fitted. The cables are dressed under his jacket or his shirt, however he's dressed. That's kind of going along with both what James was saying about making it look good and what Scott was saying about, the high-end donors and stuff like that. Yes, you want to make them look good. You give them a professional setting. It's not a home studio, but like I said, we've pretty much created a studio for them.
Yeah, for us, we actually went to the degree of when the president of the university has been giving all of his town hall meetings, as well as, any of his, state of the campus addresses and everything. We've actually gone to his house and set up either a green screen backdrop. And we also went and got like a little, some mini LED lights and everything. So he has proper coverage. So he can just sit down. Granted, it's still a webcam and his laptop and everything, or in this case, I think it's a MacBook Air, but whatever. He can just sit down. Literally it's one button, turns on the lights. He has all his stuff. And then he, obviously the broadcast guys set it up either, I think it's Teams into YouTube or Zoom to YouTube or something. Anyways, there's levels where they can kind of control everything. It's not to the level of like a one button studio. And that's one of those things, like it's been talked about for years, but I don't think it's a nice concept. But when you're and you guys are right, when you're dealing with high level, like, if this was the corporate realm, like C-level execs and everything, it's like, no, you can't just say, oh yeah, here you go, just take it and run with it. There's always going to be, listen, this is an image, this is a product, this is a view we're going to be giving folks, and it can't just be, oh yeah, here, let me just pop it on like like I'm just doing a regular Skype call to mom. It's like, no. You can't do those kinds of things. So yeah, but like I said, if anything, James and Ernie, you guys are both right on the money with that.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting because the whole pandemic sort of gave us a bit of a test bed and a little bit of a trial by fire on this. So, like right now, I have a light that's basically shining on me so that the whole background doesn't blow out. And those kind of small production kind of tips you give to people when you can. And it's interesting, Scott, that you mentioned the high level stuff, because that's where this, I think, has the most impact. So what had happened with us is when everything went online, my team was ready with Zoom and the platform, and the transition went remarkably well. But with few people on campus, we had all these town halls and VIPs being involved, and we did not have the resources really, or the personnel, because most people are remote, to really handle stuff on campus. So guess who was the person that had to deal with that? This guy. And it was an amazingly, I would say, horrifying, but in the end, sort of a very satisfying journey. So as an example, we used Teams live, because at the time it could handle thousands and thousands of users. And if you're going to pay thousands of users or even 1,000 users in Zoom, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. But what happened is that, we ran in there, put, or I should say I ran in there, put, the laptop down that the president or somebody's going to use. And they have these long introductions, and, you're using not a great teleprompter program, and they're sort of up on it, looking down, looking like this during a town hall, and it's just not a good situation. So, you get sort of the horrifying negative feedback. Well, we don't want the president to look like this. We don't want such and such to look at this. And you take it and you evolve and you make them understand, listen, we're doing this and everything's, a short timeline. So we decided to get a teleprompter, stick it back. Also, use a, a Sony camera, fairly decent production Sony camera, mic them properly. Now, what was interesting is we got them and taught them how to use the teleprompter and do these kinds of things. And it went so much better, brought a light in, everything was great. But in the spaces that they're using, they work in these spaces and they don't want to have us come in and set up lights and do all this stuff and sort of interfere with the normal workday. So they have decided, listen, we've got a space that we're going to dedicate to this. And so we need this outfitted, and we're working on that, which is great. And I think a lot of the people understand, listen, we're pitching stuff to prospective students, prospective donors. It's got to look good. It's got to look great. So like you said, Ernie, everything's set up the way you have, with the background, everything dressed. It's wonderful. And so, yeah, so the in-home studio, well, I mean, I guess if somebody has enough money to dedicate a space for that, that's good. But right now we're doing particular spaces that they can use. And also the other part that I noticed in the article was you're mentioning about, being able to mount stuff permanently on a wall or put a microphone, yeah, a pan tilt zoom camera that you can control yourself and sort of set up as well and do presets sounds like a good thing. I think it depends upon, how tech savvy the people are, but yeah, the quality of either the home studio, or should I say the high stakes pitch, is very important.
Well, guys, that is all the time we had. This was actually a fun conversation on both articles and everything. As always, guys, where can the fine folks find you guys at? Mr. King?
You can find me on Twitter at AV_James King. And you can also find me on the Higher Ed AV Digital Magazine once a month with my article, IT in AV.
There you go. Mr. Raspberry?
I am on LinkedIn.
There you go. Mr. Tyner?
You can find me on Twitter at @Tyner or on LinkedIn.
And where can they find that fine article at?
That's at Rave Pubs.
There you go. And Mr. Ernie Bailey, where can the fine folks find you at?
You can always find me on LinkedIn.
Well, there you go. I'm Bill O'Donnell. You can find me on LinkedIn. And as always, this is EdTech, part of the AVNation family of podcasts. As always, this is EdTech.